What's new today in AI? November 2025. It really wasn't just another day for product launches. It was a watershed moment, I think, defined by two huge trillion-dollar battles: the global war for AI chip access and the acceleration of powerful autonomous agents. We're going to unpack a draft U.S. executive order designed to block state AI laws, a massive $600 million funding round for embodied AI, and a huge bet on India's compute future.
That's right. For this deep dive, our mission is to cut through all the noise and really focus on the critical AI developments published exclusively today, November 20, 2025. We're focusing on three major themes: the infrastructure arms race, policy divergence, and the emerging enterprise application of frontier models. And we have some really groundbreaking research to start with.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting with segment A, frontier research. We're seeing a clear trend that is not just about building bigger models, but making them dramatically more reliable. The first paper comes from Archie Hulf. Majority rules, LLM ensemble is a winning approach for content categorization.
And what's fascinating here is how researchers attacked those persistent issues of, inconsistency and model hallucination. They introduced the Ensemble Large Language Model, or ELLM, framework. This basically integrates multiple LLMs. You ask several expert models the same question and treat their answers like a collective, highly reliable decision.
So it's kind of like a consensus mechanism for AI. We talk a lot about single models making mistakes, but if you have redundancy...
Exactly. You eliminate that single point of failure.
So what was the measurable impact on accuracy?
Oh, the impact was significant, especially when dealing with complex, unstructured, text-think, high-stakes compliance or legal documents. They achieved up to a 65% improvement in F1 score over the strongest single model they tested.
Wait, a 65% improvement? That's enormous. For our audience, just remember the F1 score is crucial because it's not just about precision, it's also about recall. That balance is what makes an automated system reliable enough for enterprise use.
Exactly right. This really changes the cost-benefit analysis for automated compliance, but there is a trade-off. Running multiple LLMs is computationally very expensive. So this technique, while it's reliable, it's probably only viable right now for those ultra-high-value tasks where the cost of an error is just way higher than the cost of compute.
That's a critical distinction. And speaking of high-value work, OpenAI dropped research confirming GPT-5 is becoming a direct collaborator in science. The paper is OpenAI GPT-5 Accelerates Scientific Discovery Across 6 Disciplines. This feels like a game changer.
It absolutely is. It confirms frontier models are now co-pilots in discovery. The research documented GPT-5 accelerating work across 6 major fields: mathematics, physics, biology. But the key insight isn't just that it helped, it's how fast.
The speed is just dizzying. The report said mathematicians were generating viable proof outlines in minutes for work that would typically take weeks. It feels like the limiting factor is no longer just time. It's human creativity in framing the right question.
We've basically shifted the rate of scientific output from a human curve to an AI acceleration curve. It's really hard to overstate the long-term impact of that.
Now let's shift to something more conceptual. Russian tech giant Yandex announced a fascinating experiment.
Yes, the Yandex launches AI consciousness research experiment. This is a truly unique approach. The whole experiment is designed to see if a model can develop stable preferences in its own internal viewpoint. And the key method is training the language model on its own thoughts and reflections, not just on human texts.
So they're building a model that's influenced by its own self-reasoning. It's fascinating, but what's the practical goal here? Is it pure philosophy?
The goal is stability testing. If self-reasoning leads to an internal logic, almost like human beliefs, it might create far more resilient and predictable AI partners. It's Russia's big push into this kind of philosophical AI research.
Okay, so if the research is pushing models to be smarter, the market is figuring out how to use them collaboratively. That brings us to segment B, product and feature launches. And OpenAI is making a huge strategic pivot here.
A huge one. ChatGPT group chats roll out globally to all user tiers. This is way more than just a feature. It's a strategic move to reposition the whole platform. By allowing up to 20 people to collaborate with each other and the AI in one chat, OpenAI is shifting from a personal assistant to a true collaborative social platform.
It sounds like they're setting up a direct challenge to Slack or Microsoft Teams, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the AI is already seamlessly integrated into your team's workflow, why would you switch contexts?
Precisely. They are aiming for zero friction. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, Google is focusing on making AI extremely localized. They've got new safety tools targeted specifically at India.
This is a great example of AI being tailored for specific societal issues.
It is. Google introduced AI-driven safety tools to combat really specific fraud patterns like digital arrest scams. This includes on-device scam call detection using Gemini Nano. It's a localization strategy that tackles threats unique to India's digital payments ecosystem, and it preserves privacy by keeping the AI on the user's device.
Speaking of domestic strategies, we saw Russia make a similar move in open source today. Schruber is opening up access to its flagship models.
This is a major pivot for Schwerbang, and it mirrors strategies we've seen in China. They're opening access to advanced models like GigaChat 3 Ultra Preview and the Kandinsky 5.0 image and video generator. The goal is clear: accelerate domestic AI adoption and build a competitive developer ecosystem all around Schruber's technologies.
That pursuit of domestic capability leads us perfectly to segment seed chips and infrastructure. This is the literal foundation of the global AI arms race, and the news today is all about sheer scale. Let's start with India.
The numbers here are just stunning. Tata Consultancy Services, or TCS, and TPG have partnered for a $2 billion investment to build AI-ready data centers in India. TPG alone is contributing up to $1 billion.
And what does $2 billion actually buy them in terms of capacity?
They are planning for approximately 1.2 gigawatts of AI data center capacity in the initial phase. This is critical. It directly addresses the compute bottleneck in the APAC region and positions India as a major global player.
And back in the US, OpenAI is taking more control of its own supply chain by partnering with Foxconn.
Right. This is OpenAI's move to gain control and improve resilience against all the geopolitical tensions over hardware. The partnership is focused on co-designing and manufacturing next-gen AI data center servers and components right in the US.
And the scale of what they need is where this story gets really interesting.
Absolutely. They're focusing on U.S. manufacturing to meet OpenAI's projected future need of 30 gigawatts of computing resources. 30 gigawatts. To put that in perspective for you, that is roughly the output of 30 standard nuclear power plants. The big takeaway here is that leading AI companies are no longer just software developers. They are now major stakeholders in national infrastructure.
That is a staggering commitment of resources. And while they build out current data centers, the next generation of compute is also seeing breakthroughs. IBM and Cisco are collaborating on networked quantum computers.
This partnership addresses a fundamental scaling challenge in quantum. You can't just keep building one single bigger machine. So the collaboration is focused on linking multiple large-scale quantum computers into distributed networked systems. The target is to enable computations across tens to hundreds of thousands of qubits.
And the physical reality of all this incredible computing power, specifically the heat, is now hitting national policy. The Liquid Cooling for AI Act of 2025 was introduced in the U.S. Senate today.
This is a clear indicator that thermal management isn't just an engineering problem anymore. It's a national policy issue. As AI chips get more powerful and hotter, the act aims to incentivize liquid cooling in data centers. The goal is to reduce the massive strain on the U.S. electrical grid from the gigawatt-scale demands of these new AI clusters.
When thermal management gets its own legislation, you know the stakes are high. And that intensity brings us squarely to Segment D policy, governance, and security. The most provocative news today is the draft federal attempt to preempt state AI laws.
This is a big one. This draft executive order is titled Eliminating State Law Obstruction of National AI Policy. It proposes to centralize AI regulatory authority by, well, attempting to block states from enforcing their own AI laws. The preference is clearly for a uniform, less burdensome federal policy to accelerate innovation.
This is a massive potential power grab. You have states like California and Colorado with robust consumer protection laws for AI. How significant is the threat that a federal preemption could just roll back all those protections?
The threat is substantial. If implemented, the EO could authorize withholding federal funding, including the $42 billion BEAD broadband program, from states that don't comply. It signals a real willingness to fight politically to ensure American AI innovation remains rapid and largely deregulated.
Meanwhile, the hardware war is heating up, evident in the enforcement actions we saw today. 4 people were indicted for smuggling Nvidia AI chips to China.
This action just underscores the desperate demand and the high black market premium for restricted AI hardware in China. The DOJ charged 4 individuals for illegally exporting restricted chips using shell companies and routing through third countries. Specifically, they're accused of successfully exporting 400 Nvidia A100 GPUs to China.
And that shows the difficulty of enforcement. But on the other side of that geopolitical coin, the U.S. is making strategic alliances by approving chip exports to the Gulf.
This is a huge shift, balancing alliances against the risk of proliferation. The Commerce Department approved the sale of advanced AI semiconductors to the UAE's G42 and Saudi Arabia's Humane. And these approvals were significant. We're talking chips equivalent to 35,000 Nvidia GB300 processors for each company.
But these exports came with some heady strings attached, right?
Exactly. This creates a new conditional access control regime. It's all contingent on rigorous security and reporting requirements. It's the U.S. finding a way to reward strategic partners while trying to manage that inherent risk.
Okay, finally, let's wrap up with Segment E funding, M&A, and enterprise adoption. The massive investment in embodied AI suggests that capital is shifting from purely digital LLMs to real-world physical applications.
I think that shift is validated by the mega round for physical intelligence. The startup focuses on AI for real-world interaction, robotics, industrial automation, and they secured a $600 million Series B funding round at a $5 billion valuation. That kind of capital infusion validates the investor belief that the next frontier isn't just better text prediction, it's automating complex physical labor.
And in the marketing world, the urgency of adapting to AI-generated content led to a huge M&A deal. Adobe is set to acquire SEMrush for almost $2 billion.
This is a strategic necessity for Adobe. They're acquiring SEMrush, a major online visibility platform, in a $1.9 billion all-cash deal. It's all driven by the immediate need for generative engine optimization, or GEO. That's optimizing content to appear favorably in AI assistants.
Why is this so urgent?
Because the consumer landscape has changed dramatically. Traffic from generative AI sources to U.S. retail sites rose 1,200% year over year in October. Marketers who don't master GEO are going to lose visibility entirely. Adobe is buying the tools to compete.
And finally, commercial traction for new productivity suites is challenging the incumbents, validated by the funding for Genspark.
Right. Genspark offers an integrated AI workspace with tools powered by over 30 AI models. They just raised a $275 million Series C at a $1.25 billion valuation. And the key metric here is the traction. They report generating over $500 million in annualized recurring revenue. That validates the market demand for AI-native suites that can directly challenge Microsoft and Google.
That was an incredible density of news today. Before we leave you, let's look at 2 tools you can use that align directly with the research we covered.
First, related to that idea of ensemble models, check out JudgeBoard MAJ. It stands for Multi-Agent Judging. It's a new evaluation framework that uses multiple interacting small language models, or SLMs, to assess reasoning outputs. It's proving that multi-agent systems can match or even exceed larger LLMs in these kinds of tasks.
And the second tool for developers is InfCode.
InfCode. It's an adversarial multi-agent framework for automated repository-level software issue resolution. It iteratively refines both tests and patches to achieve state-of-the-art performance on difficult benchmarks. It shows how agents are rapidly moving into high-stakes code generation.
Now for the numbers of the day, our 2 standout stats.
The first number is $1.9 billion. That's the value of Adobe's acquisition of SEMrush. It's a high-stakes bet on the critical need for generative engine optimization.
And the second number is 1.2 gigawatts, the planned AI data center capacity for the first phase of the TCS and TPG partnership in India, signaling the immense physical scale of AI infrastructure being deployed globally.
And that enormous physical scale brings us to our final provocative thought for you. The most consequential news on November 20th wasn't a product or a funding round, but a draft policy that proposed U.S. executive order to block state AI regulations. If this push for rapid, federally deregulated AI innovation succeeds, will the American model ultimately outpace and invalidate the more measured, safety-first governance strategies we see in Europe, the UK, and Asia? The conflict between speed and safety has really never been starker.
A lot to chew on after a pivotal day in AI. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.